Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of 442. Once again, this is your boy Christian, and today, honestly, we have a really special guest. I think, well, for me personally, just because going back in memory lane, he was pretty instrumental in the love of soccer, especially here in the United States. As you guys know, from Argentina, I grew up over there. Soccer was my life, but then coming to the United States, it was a little bit different because soccer in America at that time wasn't as big as it is now. But today I have I can't even call you by first name, but I'm just gonna go ahead and call you Coach Helton. How you doing, Coach? How's it been?
Hey,
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me, Christian. It was good. It was great reconnecting with you the other day when we just kind of just randomly ran into each other there at the Volt soccer field after that championship game. So
Yeah, so just to let you guys know out there, with Sebastian Salazar, he's the owner and the creator of Volt League, and I do the play-by-play on some of those games over there. And Coach Helton had one of his not his team, but a lot of his guys that went to high school with him. He's a high school coach now, and a lot of those guys played in that team. So he went out there to support and just kind of watch the game, enjoy the game. And then later on in the day, during the celebration, I saw him and I was like, that guy looks familiar. And you start going through your brain. And I was like, I've seen this guy, and then I was just going through my Rolodex of faces, and I was like, that's Coach. And funny enough, I couldn't remember your name, but a couple months back, I was thinking about trying to reach you, and I actually went through the Facebook page of a bunch of the classmates from middle school because I was reaching out to my high school coaches to have them on the show, and one of them is going to jump on later on, hopefully in a couple of weeks. And I was like, I wonder if I'm able, if I'm what happened to the coach, what happened to him. I remember going to the classroom and kind of waiting there for a couple hours to play games afterwards. And then it's funny enough, a couple of weeks later we ran into each other, and now we're doing this. But
yeah,
um I wanted to, kind of get to know your story a little bit, because when you're in school, you see coaches, you see teachers, and you kind of have them in a different kind of level, right? You don't see them outside of school. They have a life outside, but you don't know that, you just see them at school, right? So can you tell me a little bit about, where your love of soccer and your love of teaching kind of came to be?
okay, yeah. So I mean, I didn't plan on going to college. I didn't plan on being a coach. I didn't plan on even being a teacher. So it kind of just accidentally happened for me. Um, as far as my love of soccer, I'd always played soccer growing up and everything. I wasn't really the best player or anything, but I'd always played multiple sports, loved soccer. My grandpa was one of my first coaches. He's from England, big
Okay.
Liverpool fan, and got me really into soccer. He coached some private schools and stuff in Houston. He helped start one of the first soccer leagues in Houston here right after World War II with a bunch of immigrants and stuff. And he would tell me stories about just they would play at Memorial Park, and they would have like a German team and an English team and like a team from
Wow.
from Mexico or whatever, and they would just kind of get organized and play in they made their little leagues and everything way back then. This is way before soccer was really anything in the United States. It was way off the radar back in those days. But yeah, my grandpa really just helped me with that as far as the love of soccer and the love of coaching as well. So then graduated from college. Then my first job working at a middle school. And again, I don't have any thought of wanting to coach. And I hear an announcement, hey, the school soccer team is looking for a volunteer seventh grade coach. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. So I go down there after school, talk to the lady, find out she doesn't really know anything about soccer at all. She just kind of organized the team. So I was in there and I really got into it and helped her organize practices and whatnot. And she was the head coach, but again, she really didn't know anything about the sport. So she kind of let me kind of run things there. So I did that for a couple of years. And then I moved to Revere Middle School where I met you. And same thing. Again, I didn't move there to be for coaching because in your middle school, you wanted to teach. And I was looking for a place that was a little closer to my house. And I asked if they had a soccer team, and I met the assistant principal that you remember. He was from
Yeah.
Columbia, Mr. Cardenas. and they had a pretty good soccer team at Revere. And I said, "Hey, man, can I help you out? Can I be your assistant?" And he's like, "Sure, sure, sure." And got into that. And he at that time he was trying to become an assistant principal. So eventually, I became the head coach of that Revere soccer team over there, and where I met you guys, with Christian and a bunch of your teammates and whatnot, and kind of went from there. And I really fell in love with the coaching part of it, and I had an itch. It was like addictive, man. I wanted to learn more. I knew I didn't know everything. I was just like a sponge trying to just soak up as much information as I could, learning from other coaches and from for anything I could get my hands on. I was trying to get a hold of it. Now back then, YouTube didn't have all the resources that it does now, so it was a lot harder to get a lot of information because YouTube is just an encyclopedia of knowledge nowadays. You're looking for stuff, but back then it was a lot harder. So I took some coaching courses and try to become the best coach I could. And then I had a chance to move up to a high school, man, where I coached the girls in the Fort Bend Elkins for a couple of years. And then I eventually went over. I stayed there for 2 years, and I went to Cypress Ridge out in Cypress, and I've been there for the past 14, 15 years. So I'm living
Wow.
the dream, man. It's a great job, and I love it. Doing it for a long
It
time.
Yeah, so it's been a while, kind of going through the pictures that we just saw. I will post them up later on for everybody to see. But I wonder, because I remember, kind of to me, I had just come to the US early like 2001. So, my English, I was still kind of learning it and all that. And then middle school was a shock to me, right? Back in 2004, 2005. And so you kind of to you, obviously, you're an American guy, and then in the school, there was a lot of immigrant kids, a lot, most of the kids that played on the
Yeah,
soccer team, they're all Spanish kids.
sure.
Everybody spoke Spanish. I remember that, it was like our main language to most of us.
Oh
A
yeah.
lot of us were still struggling. Even in eighth grade, I was still like in ESL classes, and a bunch of those guys were in those classes with me. I don't know if you remember, that far back, but how was it, kind of putting a group together or having that group of young kids that maybe their life experience wasn't the same as yours, and obviously you're an adult now, a little bit more about that, but did that, were there some things that maybe caught you off guard of some of the things that the kids were doing or anything
Um,
like that that you remember?
yeah, of course, of course. But I'll tell you what did help was that my wife is from Mexico, so um and I'd been there frequently, and so I already had a big appreciation of the Hispanic culture, and especially the love of soccer and stuff. And I just felt I felt really connected with, again, the kind of kids that were at Revere. Um, you know, Again, I couldn't necessarily have the same background as them, but I felt connected with them just because of soccer. And if that was one thing that can unite people is a sport, you know. And I never claimed to be an expert back in those days of soccer, but I showed you guys. I wanted to show y'all enthusiasm, that I cared about y'all, and that I was passionate about it, and really wanted to work y'all to work together as a team. That was the biggest goal for me, and I think it gave you guys some pride in the school to be a part of something like the soccer team, and that's what we tried to give you guys the best experience that we could with that. I know that a lot of y'all maybe didn't know a lot of people outside the school, but y'all had the love for soccer. You know.
Yeah, I remember, our my eighth grade year, we actually went. I don't know if you remember, but we went undefeated. We won district undefeated. We won every single game. We only tied one. I still remember like if it was yesterday. We actually tied Jane Long Middle School. We tied
Mm,
1-1, and I was so mad because I was like, we should have beat them.
yeah.
Undefeated, perfect season and everything. And then there was a tournament that I remember half of our team kind of went to the Coca-Cola tournament, and it was half of West Briar team, which is our rival middle school.
Yeah.
What do you remember about that? That little tournament. Because we were talking about it a little bit.
Yeah, that was a great tournament. I'm not sure when they stopped doing the Coca-Cola, but it was a free tournament in Houston. They had them all over the country back in those days. Um, and yeah, so it was the coach from Westside High School, Coach Brown. Shout out to him because I know he's still big in the soccer community. By the way, he is a former coach at Westside, and I know a lot of the players at Revere were going to go to Westside, and he knew, so he was going to get about half his team from Revere and about half of his team from West Briar. So he wanted to see these guys play together in this tournament. So it was really his idea. So I was coaching that along with I believe her name was Coach Williamson from Westbriar, and she brought about 7 or 8 guys, and I brought about 7 or 8 guys from Revere, and we formed this team. And it was fun. It was a fun little tournament. It was weird playing with some different players. I'm sure for you guys, but I'm not sure. I don't remember how we did in the tournament. Do you remember?
Not great.
Yeah, I mean, we played some really good teams. I know for sure, but it was a fun experience. So, and we did it again next year as well. But yeah, that was a fun little thing that because I know a lot of y'all were going to be in high school together after Revere. So that was just a preview for Coach Brown to see what he had coming in to West Side for his incoming freshman.
I know it's been forever, but do you happen to remember, any of the names, any of the guys, and I don't know, any memories that you can kind of remember to kind of run back there? Because I'm sure some of the guys are going to see this. I don't know if you
Oh yeah, I
remember
remember.
any
I remember
stories.
quite a few of the guys, and I had a guy helping me out. One of the coworkers, Rob Schindler. He was the
Schindler.
assistant coach back then as well, and I told him about you the other day as well. We still talk frequently, um, but he remembers all you guys as well. I mean, Christian. So he knew right away who you were. I showed him that picture of you the other day. He's like, "Oh, it's Christian," and he knew you were from Argentina too, man. So
That's awesome.
it's been a long time, but we remember you guys. Yeah, we remember Leo Munoz,
Yeah.
Luis Cadiz, Melvin Rivas, which he's made his way up in the refereeing ranks. I'm not sure if
Yes. Yes.
or not, but
Yeah.
I had a chance to see Melvin a few months ago after one of my high school games, and Melvin tells me he's becoming a professional referee now. So we're really proud
Awesome.
of him. And Melvin he actually coached my son when he was younger. Melvin used to work for the Chivas Soccer Club that practiced at Revere, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. I
My
remember
son
that.
played with Chivas for a couple of years, and Melvin was his coach for that team as well. So
Awesome.
yeah, Melvin's another guy that I've been in contact with Melvin quite a bit. I know there's another guy on there, Sergio.
Yeah. I remember the
Robin. There
first
there were
name.
so many. There's so many guys I could probably name off most of the team if you wanted me to, but because I mean, yeah, you guys are part of my journey and part of my memory, and it was an important time for me. It might seem like such a long time ago, but those are good memories. And
Yeah,
as
for
far as me
sure.
personally, that was part of my journey becoming a coach. And those were good years, and I look fondly back on those. And again, it makes me happy that you can look back and you have good memories of those times as well.
Oh yeah.
That makes me really
Yeah, for
happy.
sure. I remember, your class was in one of the T buildings outside. You weren't even in the building.
Yeah,
And yeah, so I remember, after class for game days, we would just go over there and kind of hang out
yeah.
between school and the
The
actual game
reason
time.
the reason we did that, man, because I don't know if you remember, that was really a rough neighborhood, you know, where Revere was, and we were afraid to let you guys like go unsupervised after school because we had like 2 hours before the games. So we're like, man, we better keep these guys busy. So we would sometimes bring you guys some sandwiches and stuff. We would
Uh,
make some sandwiches for y'all. We would show a movie for y'all or play some PlayStation or something just to keep you guys at the school, keep you guys out of trouble because that was a pretty rough area back then for sure. Um, but that was just
yeah.
just a way for you guys just to hang out before the games in a safe place. You know?
Yeah, and I'm sure most of the guys appreciate that because I remember those times. I remember I wasn't allowed to go behind the school, so
Okay.
I'm sure some of the guys remember those, and they have stories of their own. But
Oh yeah.
I wanted to ask about your transition from middle school to high school.
Okay.
Was that a big shock? Because I know high school soccer obviously nowadays is extremely competitive.
Oh
I
yeah.
live in the Katy area, so the Katy teams nowadays, they're Seven Lakes just won a state championship,
Yep.
and it's getting huge over here. But back in the day when you made that transition, how was that like?
Yeah, it was a little bit scary to be honest. But it was exciting but scary because I knew that I wanted to do that. I was at a point in my life where I either wanted to become a high school coach or have a whole different career. I was thinking about getting in law enforcement or something else because I was still in like my late 20s, early 30s, and I wasn't sure I wanted to do this the rest of my life. And I told myself, hey, if I don't if I don't get a high school coaching job by the end of the summer, I was gonna do something else. And then I got a call from this school out in Fort Bend for the girls, and it was a long drive. It was like 35 miles one direction, so it was a really long commute every day. Then I had to also be the assistant volleyball coach at this school, which sometimes when you're in high school, and again, I wanted to get my foot in the door in high school, you know, because I eventually wanted to get back to coaching the boys, but I figured, okay, I can do this for a couple of years. I could coach girls, I can do assistant volleyball, and make this long commute every day. And I did, and it was scary, I'll be honest, but exciting. I tried to prepare myself as much as I could, and you know, it was totally different clientele. By the way, I was used to, you know, you guys at Revere, you know, kind of pretty much having to do everything, and and then I go to this other school at Elkins, and it was a good school, high quality school, but the girls there were very like I say upper middle class, and they had a lot of things that like you guys didn't have, you know, because I remember a lot of you guys, y'all don't have a lot of parents watching y'all at the games. A lot of times y'all would just take the city bus home after the games. You know, y'all would go play the game and then catch the metro to your apartment building. A lot of the
Yeah.
guys didn't. So it was a totally different environment there for that. So that took a little bit of getting used to as well. A lot of a lot more parent involvement, dealing with parent emails about playing time, and you know, little things like that that I hadn't dealt with before. You know, coaching at the middle school. So that was an adjustment as well, and you know, getting used to some of the rules that were in high school as well that I wasn't super familiar with. And but I was very fortunate that school I went to had a lot of really high quality players there as well. So we had some really good success when I was there for 2 years. We made, you know, I think second or third round playoffs every year, and we're in a very competitive district out there in Fort Bend. And that helped as well. You know, that gave me confidence as a coach. But again, the credit to the players. Because again, if you don't have the good players, um, and the players, it's all about the players, man. You really, you know, the coach is there to help manage and help them play together. But especially when they get to high school, you can't be teaching things like how to dribble and how to pass. I mean, those are skills they pretty much need to have those skills already by the time they get to high school. You know, and you work on you work on the technical side for training and things like that, but they already have to have a good foundation to be ready to play in high school. So yeah, that was a scary transition, but exciting. Did that for 2 years. The volleyball part of it, I'll be honest, I did not like that part. But I tell these younger coaches sometimes, look, man, sometimes you have to coach a second sport, even if you don't know anything about that second sport. If you want to be in high school, you know, so you got to do what you got to do. Sometimes I know several head coaches on the boys side started off, you know, coaching on the girls side, because again, that's your foot in the door. If you really want to do that, you pay your dues, you put your time in, and you wait for an opening. And I was fortunate there was an opening out in Cypress Ridge after my second year, and took an opportunity to do that. Now the problem was they didn't have my teaching field. So this is another issue with coaching in high school. Your teaching field has to match what's open. The only opening they had was a chemistry teacher at Cypress Ridge, and I was a social studies teacher. So that was a problem there. The guy, he wanted me as the coach. He liked my background. He liked what I did at Revere. And I'll be honest, what got me the job at Cy Ridge was having that experience at Revere, because the kids that come through Cy Ridge were very similar to the kids that I coached and taught at Paul Revere. Very similar. A lot of you know, high Hispanic population, immigrants. Some of them don't really speak good English. Helped me get that job at Cypress Ridge, that I had experience working with those kind of players. But the problem was the teaching field. So I'll be honest, I was scouting, man, I'm not going to get this job now. And I had a great interview. They wanted me, but they're like, hey, there's no openings. So I said, what can we do? I said, hey, I can teach chemistry if you want me to. And that's what they let me do. They let me teach chemistry for a year. I owe the principal a big debt of gratitude for taking a chance on me. He could have easily just said, no, we're good. We're going to go with another coach that can teach, that actually is certified to teach chemistry. But they took a chance on me, and I'm really grateful for that they did that. So I'm in a good spot. I've been there ever since. You know, it's about 10 minutes from my house, so
Perfect.
feel a lot closer to the community, and the drive. And yeah, like I said, man, I'm living the dream, and spend half my day out there at the soccer field every day, teach my core classes, and then second half of the day I'm outside with soccer. So you know, so
Living the
tell those
dream.
kids, man, that's the highlight of my day is going out there with them and being out there uh, coaching soccer.
So I've been able to talk to a couple of high school coaches, somebody from a 4A school, somebody here from actually Taylor High School where I went to, 6A school. I'm pretty sure you guys are probably 6A, right? 5A,
Yeah,
6A,
we are.
6.
We're
Yeah.
6 day. Yeah.
So obviously, it's different. A lot of kids, a lot of people, a lot of stuff going on, that really takes a toll. I mean, you've been doing it for years now, but talking to these coaches, they have to like be really, really involved, kind of in the life of these guys, because to some of them you're kind of like a second parent or a dad or whatever it may be. You've been at Cyridge, you said more than 10 years now, right?
Yeah, it's going on about 15 years. Yeah.
15 years now. So in those 15 years, what, I don't know if you can share, I mean, you don't have to, but maybe some like stories of like struggles that you had, maybe with some guys, just to kind of get that, because when you think of coaching, when you think of just being a coach, you think of a guy just being outside yelling at you and telling you what to do, inside the field. But what they don't see about soccer coaches is, you kind of have to be another person, a dad figure on the side at times, to a lot of these guys, because you don't know what's going on at home and stuff like that. So I don't know if you can share maybe some stories, throughout your years of stuff that maybe you never thought you were gonna do, or maybe you don't even do it with your own kids, that you kind of had to do with these guys, in your schools.
Yeah, absolutely. God, and to be honest, that's the most important part of the job is those relationships you build with your players. The outside X's and O's part, that's the fun stuff, that's the easy stuff. But it's what you do off the soccer field that makes the most difference. Try to build like this family environment. And there's so many instances I could bring up every year with guys having to come to me, uh, for different issues where it's coach, I'm worried that my parents are going to get deported, and I have to miss some practice time because we're going to go to like immigration court.
Wow.
I mean, things like that, or you know, players dealing with just family issues. Hey, my parents are getting separated, and guys dealing with depression and possible suicidal thoughts and things like that, and just having them being able to talk to you about that and let them know that they're not alone, that they trust you enough to come talk to you about those things.
Yeah.
You know, those are just some serious issues these kids are dealing with. There's all kinds of things these kids are dealing with, outside of school. And I love the fact that I've built these relationships with these kids who come and talk to me about this stuff, outside of, I tell them it's open anytime. You come in before school, you come in after school, after practice, whatever. And a lot of them, they take me up on that. We talk about some heavy stuff sometimes, And I remember 2 years ago, it was after a soccer game. Guy, he'd been going out with his girlfriend for about 4 years, and they had broken up, I think, a couple of days before one of our games. And she ended up bringing another guy to the game, and he didn't even know about it till after the game. So there was a big ruckus in the parking lot. So we take him into the office and talk to him and stuff. And man, he's crying. He's really upset about everything. And I'm in there with my assistant coach as well. And we stay with him till about 11 o'clock at night, talking to him about
Wow.
everything. I mean, it was important. I had one of my other captains come in as well. So we had one of his teammates in there, me, myself, and then one of my assistant coach. We were in there talking to him and calmed him down. But that's just an example there of some things that we deal with sometimes. And I know we all had to get up for school the next day, but it was important that we stayed there to talk to that kid about
Mm.
everything, and just make sure he was okay before he went home that evening, and that he was calm. So, I mean, there's so many stories. Like every year, there's different things that come up that you have to deal with, and the important thing is just letting those guys know they have somebody to talk to. You know,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
I'm very yeah, and I'm very fortunate that I've had the same assistant coach for 15 years as well, Daniel Cantu. He's an awesome assistant coach, and we've been there together. We've helped build this program up, and I trust him with everything. And with every decision that I make, he's involved with that. And when we talk to these kids, we tell them, hey, you got myself, you have Coach Cantu, you can talk to as well. That way if they don't feel comfortable talking to me, they can talk to the other coach as well.
Yeah.
So that's important.
So let's get into the fun stuff, right? The
Sure.
sporting side of the things.
Yeah.
We'll leave the personal side
Yeah.
aside for a little bit,
Yeah.
because it can get heavy at times, right? So you've been there 15 years.
Yeah.
What are some of the accomplishments that you were able to achieve? Like on the sporting side of things, because I know, like I said, the Katy area is competitive, the Cypress area is competitive.
Oh yeah.
More schools are popping up, obviously, a lot of resources nowadays, a lot of boosters and all that stuff. So what have you guys been able to accomplish in these years?
Well, again, I was real fortunate coming in that Cy Rich had never been to the playoffs before I'd gotten there.
Wow.
But I was fortunate. I came in that first year, and we actually won district the first year I was there. So that was a big boost for the guys. And I was telling them, hey man, we're gonna again that coming to a program who had never seen success like that. I was super confident and maybe overconfident that I said, hey, we're gonna get to the playoffs this year, guys. We're gonna get to the playoffs. And the fact that we went to the play, not only made the playoffs, but won district that first year was super important just to kind of help propel the program in the right direction. And then I'll be honest, we probably got a little too confident after that. We won district that first year, and I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be easy, man. I got this figured out, man. No problems. Oh man, we were in a tough district. Cy-Fair is a tough district, man. Some really good coaches. It was very humbling next 2 years because we didn't make the playoffs the next 2 years after that. And then my fourth year, this is a really special group to me because those are my first freshmen that I had. You know, they've been with me since their freshman year, and that was the year we made playoffs again. But we made it all the way to the regional finals that year. So we lost 1-0 to Morton Ranch in the regional final. So we were 1-0 away from going to state that year. But
Do you
that
remember the
was
year by any chance?
that was 2012. 2012.
2012, yeah.
And we made this again. We were like the third or fourth seed coming into the playoffs. Nobody was expecting us to do anything. Only the second time in school history making the playoffs. But we upset Straight Jesuit that year. They were the number one team in the state.
Wow.
We upset them, and then I think we beat Seven Lakes the next round in overtime. And one of those, I'm not sure if you remember those old shootouts.
Yeah.
You start the ball at the 35-yard line.
Yeah. It sucked.
Yeah, they were a little crazy, lot different than penalty kicks are now.
Yeah.
So we did that. We beat them. That was an intense game. And then man, the guys, it was crazy seeing these guys, just the confidence in them. We knew we had a pretty solid squad, but we relied heavily on just playing good defense, good goalkeeping, kind of just a counterattacking kind of style because we know we couldn't just technically just play with some teams like Seven Lakes because they had just loads and loads of talent. So we had to play to our strengths, and that's what we did, and we made it all the way to the regional finals doing that. So that was a fun year doing that. And then pretty much since then we've been, we're 2023 now, so we've been to the playoffs like 7 years in a row. We've gone to at least a second round, at least. Since then, we made it back to the regional tournament. I think it was back in 2017 as well. So we've had some pretty good success here at Cy Ridge. And again, credit to the players coming in. Just we've been blessed with having some good players who buy into the program and buy into our I teach these kids, and it's been fun. It's been a fun ride.
So talking to other coaches and kind of seeing online, there's not a battle, but sometimes there's conflict between club teams and high school teams, right? How's that dynamic? I don't know if any, I'm sure some of your guys maybe play club or play somewhere else, but how do you navigate that, as a high school coach? Because I know it can be a little crazy there.
Yeah, I remember when the MLS academies first came about. I'm thinking that was probably 2011, 2012, around there. And they said that if kids played for the academy, they couldn't play for high school. I remember. And one of our better players was with the Dynamo Academy that year. But that was another thing that really that happened to be the same year that we went to regional. Now that one player didn't play for us, by the way. And I talked to the kids on the team about that. I'm like, hey, do you think if I'm not going to say his name, but do you think if he had played with us, do you think we would have gone all the way to state? And they're like, well, coach, they said that he if we had him, it might have affected our chemistry a little bit on the team, you know,
Mm.
because that kid, he was an awesome player, but everybody, since he wasn't there, everybody else had a chance to grow and develop and
Yeah.
not just rely on one guy. And they became a true team. So a lot of the guys come up to me and say, Coach, yeah, it was probably better he didn't play because we became a true team that year without him, and we had to learn how to play without him. So um, again, I understand it, it affects all the high schools, and I know there's different rules. It's hard to keep track of, by the way, which clubs let kids play high school and which don't, because it seems like it's changing every year. It used to bother me a whole lot as a coach, but I'm just like, you know what? Whatever happens, happens. You know, I'm not going to beg a kid to come play high school. A lot of the time, the kids want to play high school because it's their friends. They want to play with their friends
Yeah.
and in front of their community, you know. And that's, but again, I don't want to have the kid. I'm not going to just sit there and try to beg a kid to play. You know, it's I decided I'm not going to do that. The last couple of years, I'm just whoever we get, we get. And if they can't play, that's fine. But I always tell them as well, hey, leave the door open. Maybe you change your mind your senior year. You know, if you want to come back, that's fine. You know, I've had kids do that as well. They maybe played freshman or sophomore year, and then they said, Coach, I can't play this year because of club. Okay, that's fine. You know, doors always open. You change your mind. You know, so we try to tell them just don't burn any bridges. Stay in communication with us. You know, that's the important thing. And I've had some kids like last year. He told me he didn't want me mentioning him on Twitter or anything because he wasn't supposed to be playing high school soccer, and he was doing it on the down low. So he's like, Coach,
That's crazy.
if I score goals, don't post it out because I don't want my club coaches knowing about it. You know, so
Wow.
I think that kind of happens quite a bit as well. You know, that's something that again, it sucks that these kids have to make these choices like that. You know,
Yeah.
but so I just tell them, I keep in the have a very open minded attitude about it, and I don't get stressed out about it. You know, it's just if they want to play, they play. If not, we'll look for the next kid. You know, we got plenty of kids who want to play soccer at my school. You know, so
Yeah. Of
there's no
course.
shortage of that. You know,
That's crazy because I think about my time. I played high school 2005 to 2009. I played sophomore, junior, senior year, but I remember playing club at the same time, and I don't remember having any. Actually, my high school coach went to some of my club games, and because I remember I was playing stopper in high school, and then I was playing center back in my club team, and then he went and he switched me position. I was like, God dang it! Like I didn't want to play center back, but I was like, well, I guess it was better fitting for me. I don't even remember what I played in middle school. Uh, I just
yeah,
I
no,
just I just remember I gave the ball to Luis and Leo, and I was like, just y'all take it.
yeah. I think we probably had you on defense as well, man. I think
Yeah,
you were
most
pretty
likely.
calm. You're a pretty calm defender back then. So yeah, I remember those days. But yeah, it's funny you mentioned like stopper sweeper and stuff, you know, and I know that that's not in vogue now to play with stoppers and sweepers,
Yeah,
but I'll be honest, man, I've had some good teams play stopper sweepers, man. It's you got to be tactically flexible, you know, it's
yeah,
especially with high school because you don't know what kind of kids you're going to get, you know,
true.
how experienced they're going to be. Some of them might be very technical with the ball, and some of them, man, this is their first time to even play on an organized sport, you know, so we got to adapt as a coach, you know, to what's best for our players out there, you know. So we
Yeah,
go stopper sweeper sometimes, man. Hey, sometimes that works because a lot of teams aren't used to playing against a stopper sweeper, you know.
yeah,
So those
true.
are old tactics and stuff, but we've had some good success everyone when we've done that, you know. So I know some coaches knock the stopper sweeper, they knock those tactics, but I'm just, hey man, whatever works, man. You know, at the
Yeah,
end of
yeah,
the
no,
day,
for
you know,
sure. Yeah. It's funny because I always tell people like, I don't know if you see it too, but in video games like the FIFA games, they've
yeah.
changed, to me, like the way people see soccer. Because I remember back in the day, I grew up in Argentina where literally every position was a number. So, if you were playing like if you were number two, you were the right back, the not the right back, the right center back. Every number had a position, right? So growing up as a kid, when people would tell you what do you play, you would say a number, not a position,
Mhm.
because that's what, mattered. And then with the video games, I hear kids nowadays, young guys, I'm 30. So I call them kids. I'm 31, but I call it, I see them. They're like, "Oh, what do you play?" And they're just say like Cam or CDM, and I'm like, "What does that even mean?" But it's because of the video games, and
Oh
that's how
yeah,
they have it. To me, it was like stopper, sweeper, left back, right back. You play in the wings, you play forward. With actual numbers and names.
right.
Um, but you were talking about community. You were talking about the guys building relationships. I saw you this past weekend. You were out there supporting some of the guys that you had in school at one point in time. Can you tell me a little bit about that? I mean, I know you weren't there, you saw the game. I don't know. Can I get your thoughts on maybe what you saw out there in that relationship you have with some of those guys that won the championship for the Volt?
Yeah, well, some of those guys I've been in contact with some of those guys, continuously. We talk, chat every few months. Some of them have come back to the school to give speeches to the kids, but some of them I haven't seen since high school. So it was really cool just reconnecting with some of those kids I hadn't seen in a long time. And one of the players had texted me the day before that they were having this championship game, and but I had no idea that I had that many former players on that team. It was like a dozen of them on
Wow.
there. And I was thinking it might just be one or two guys, but it was like, man, it was like half the squad was former Cy Rich players on there. So it was like a little reunion for me. And I was really happy that I went and happy that they invited me to come watch.
Yeah.
And there was one kid on the team, by the way. You were just to harken back to what you said about some of the personal things that you deal with the coach. One of my better players that I ever had, he was a varsity player as a freshman, but he ended up getting a girl pregnant when he was in high school and ended up having to. I don't even think he finished high school. I think he got his GED, and because he wanted to start working, he wanted to take care of the family. We
Yeah.
talked to him about it. Okay, man, I understand that, and I totally respect that. Because he wanted to just start working full time just to make sure he was trying to be a good dad and everything. So, but I hadn't seen that kid since high school. That's how long it was since I've seen him. So it was real special reconnecting with him. But yeah, just hearing about these guys, some of them are married now and have kids, and hearing about their jobs and stuff. It's really, man, that's really makes my heart happy as a coach, because I always talk to the guys, hey man, I want you to be a good man 10 years from now, 10 years after high school. I want you to be a good dad and a good husband and a good dude, and
Yeah.
you can look back on your high school days with a smile and have some good memories. And it seemed like I'd accomplished that. It made me really happy that these guys they're all in a good place right now. And yeah, it was great. It's the best part of being a coach is stuff like that. Getting
Yeah.
invited to weddings and birthdays and quinceaneras and baby showers and little things like that for your old players. That makes it all worth it. At the
That's
end of the
awesome.
day.
Yeah. And well, to kind of finish off, I want to ask you some questions about, just soccer in general. I see you're a Liverpool guy.
Oh yeah.
You're I don't know if you keep up with the MLS, but obviously you keep up with the Premier League. How did you see your Liverpool, and how do you see your new Argentinian coming in, McAllister?
Oh yeah. So Liverpool, of course, were disappointed we didn't make Champions League. I just feel like they dropped too many points early in the season. They went on a tear there the last 10, 11 games though. My gosh. But yeah, they dropped a few too many points early on. The teams they probably shouldn't have. Um, I think that I like Darwin Nunez. I don't think it took him a little bit of time to really kind of start fitting in with the club. And I think that they really needed a little bit more. They needed more production from him. They really missed having Sadio Mane out there when they lost him to
Yeah.
Bayern Munich. That was a big blow there to Liverpool. Um, but they'll be back. They'll be back in the Champions League. I know that the Premier League is so competitive, man. There's so much more money in there now.
Oh
With
yeah.
like Newcastle now has new ownership and they're spending a lot more money on players. Manchester United is back. Arsenal had a hell of a year as well. So it's super competitive. And man, Liverpool should be back, man. I'm a diehard Liverpool guy, and they worked too hard to get back to where they are, man. I have faith in the coach that they will bounce back strong. And with a new addition of McAllister, he'll fit right in with the squad. So I'm really have high hopes for them for sure.
Yeah. To me personally, McAllister is the best Argentinian playing right after Messi, of course. To me, he's the best Argentinian playing at the time. So hoping for the best. He came out of my boyhood team, which is Boca Juniors.
Okay.
So, wishing the best for him and
Oh, yeah.
hopefully for
So
you guys.
is that an Aston Villa jersey you have on there?
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I just became an Aston Villa fan like 2 seasons ago, 3 seasons ago.
Okay.
Because honestly, I wasn't really into the Premier League like that. And I was like, I was going through the teams. I was like, I need to pick something, to kind of stay on top of it, especially doing the show where I talk soccer every week. I was like, I need to follow, at least have some skin in the game type thing. And I was looking at the teams, everybody's, as a Chelsea fan, a Manchester United fan, City, everybody's a new City fan nowadays.
Of course.
And I'm a big history guy. So, I see you are too, but
Yeah.
so I like history and, just seeing how, Aston Villa was one of the first teams out there. The president or the owner of Aston Villa was the one that kind of led the federation to kind of put together the Premier League what would be today. So I was like, well, let's just go with history, a humble club type thing. They haven't won anything in forever. And, I just kind of picked one and I was like, I'll run with it. So now I'm an Aston
That's
Villa fan. Yeah,
hey, that's better than seeing all the bandwagon Manchester City fans.
exactly.
As a
Exactly.
teacher, I see all the kids in the hallways. 10 years ago, it was all these Chelsea jerseys because everybody was a Chelsea fan because Chelsea was we were one of the dominant teams, and they were all have Chelsea now. Those same kids would be wearing the Manchester City jerseys, and
It's true.
so it's just the kids, the bandwagon jumpers,
You
But
gotta
there's
jump on it.
there's excitement. Like I said, JJ Watt recently bought some of Burnley. That's
Yeah.
going to be in the Premier
Yeah.
League now, and all the hype about the Wrexham and getting up to League One now. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of people. I had never seen this show, but people tell me about Ted Lasso as well. It's just
It's a fun show.
it's
Yeah.
a lot of popularity in soccer now, and exciting times in Houston, man. We're hosting some Gold Cup games right later this
Yeah.
summer. And I know we're going to have the World Cup here in a couple of years as well. So man, it's exciting times for soccer. Messi coming to the MLS. I mean, it's fun times, man. It's Soccer's starting to take off, and it's been here. It's always been here, but it seems like it's finally getting a lot more mainstream for people to be soccer fans now.
Yeah. And, kind of going back to your history, your grandfather, you said he was one of
Yeah,
the guys that kind of brought, this, competitive, structure in a way to soccer back in the old days after
yeah,
World War II, that's what,
yeah.
40s and 50s.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of crazy. But, you
Yeah,
know, seeing, what your grandfather did, back in the old days, when soccer wasn't, it was, building up even worldwide. It wasn't even a thing, everywhere in the world. And now, you see Messi coming to the MLS. How crazy is it for you, to kind of think back and be like, my grandfather was doing that in the beginning, and now it's just soccer is exploding everywhere. I mean, the MLS is huge now.
yeah. No, it's just hard to put in words how much it's changed,
Yeah,
But I'll put the Messi thing in, like, when Pele came over here back in like I think it was like the 80s or late
yeah,
70s, it's very similar to that. But I mean, just how much it's um, blown up with social media and everything, it's just, and the amount of money he's getting paid as well. It's just
ridiculous.
crazy. And they're going to sell out everywhere he goes. They're going to sell out, for Messi. I'm sure at the Dynamo, if they wanted to rent out NRG Stadium for the Inter
Probably
Miami
could.
game, that would probably be a sellout for that one as well. That's something they should probably think about, by the way. They want to get some more
Oh, for sure.
tickets,
Oh yeah,
do
yeah.
something
I'm,
like
I'm
that.
sure. I'm sure they're thinking about it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be, yeah, it's going to be crazy. But yeah, soccer's a good sport. I love the history of it, man. Like the old tactics. Like, I mean, just the history of the game. Like, I read somewhere that, man, they didn't even allow substitutes until it might have been like sometime in the 70s. They could
Wow.
actually you actually had a sub, because it was just weird the way the rules were, and there was no offsides way back in those days as well. So the formations and the tactics were all different. So it's just, man, I would love to teach a course on the history of soccer. It's just a lot of cool stuff there, just how the game has evolved over the years and expanded, and the money's gotten involved, and you know it's just the
Super
television
commercial now.
rights and
Yeah.
everything. So yeah, and then high school soccer, for instance, to go back to that, just It used to be, man, they would give the soccer coach a job to like a football coach. It was the second coaching job for usually a football coach. Like it didn't matter if they knew anything about soccer or not. Hey, my offensive line coach, he needs to coach a second sport. Let's stick him with the soccer team. And that's the way it used to be back in the 80s in Texas. A lot of the soccer coaches didn't know a lot about soccer, but now it's like every school has a soccer guy now. It's very rare that you have just a football guy that doesn't know anything about soccer. They're all coaching. It's made it really a lot more competitive now as well. And like you said, there's so many areas in Houston that have good soccer programs. Katy, Cy-Fair, the Pasadena area, out there in Humboldt. I mean, there's so many pockets of good soccer getting played everywhere. So it's exciting times, man, for sure.
And just to finish off the conversation, once again, thank you so much for taking the time. But last question I have for you is just what's next for you? What's next for Coach Helton?
Oh gosh, well, to be honest, I'm just enjoying my summer for now, and we'll have some camps and stuff over the summer for some of the kids. But I really use the summertime just to recharge my batteries, mentally and physically, just get myself right. That way, when the school does start, in August, I can give 100% of my time and effort to the kids, So I really use this time really just to recharge my batteries, go on a couple of different vacations and things like that, and then try to learn. I usually find a couple books to read, coaching books to read over the summer, and look for some interesting videos and things like that. I'm always trying to stay on top of the game. I know things are changing constantly with soccer, so I want to make sure that I'm up to speed on everything that's going on, tactically wise, coaching wise. If there's any new ideas coming out there that I need to be aware of, I'm gonna I'm gonna look into it. I know a lot of stuff is data driven now with analytics, so that's another thing it's very time consuming, but that's something that a lot of people are using now when they evaluate how teams and players are performing. They look at the stuff like a lot of the data, but yeah, it's just looking forward to getting back with my guys back when school starts. But in the meantime, yeah, just resting up over the summer, man. Just
That's awesome.
chilling out, talking to you, man, catching up with some friends, so talking some soccer,
Let's go. So, just to finish off, I don't know if you want to let people know where they can kind of follow the work on Twitter of your team, of your school.
Yeah, we have a Twitter account, Cyridge Soccer, on there. I don't have an Instagram account, man. I'm still a little too old school to all that new social media stuff. I have a Facebook and I have Twitter, man. That's about it. So, but yeah, I think people can follow us on the Cyridge Soccer Twitter account. And if anybody wants to message me, if any old players out there recognize me, want to say hi, just send me a message through that, and we'll catch up, man.
Awesome. All right. Well, yeah, everybody, don't forget, you can follow the show at 442 on Instagram. You can go to Twitter, find it as well there. YouTube channel, that's where you're going to get this video and many more. So don't forget to check that out. Once again, thank you, Coach, for your time, and we'll see everybody in the next episode.
Thank you, Chris.